Hi, everyone. I'm Coach Lee with Action Coach Business Coaching, and I'm interviewing Carla Shearer today and for the Business Spotlight interview. And Carla is the CEO of SCTelcom, which is located in Medicine Lodge, Kansas. Go Medicine Lodge. You have 3 locations in South Central Kansas and 1 in North Central Oklahoma. And I have some questions to ask you about your business and how long you've been doing it. And the first thing I want to do is have you tell us about the business, about your business, how long you've been doing it. And it's a co-op. Would you explain what that is so people
Sure,
understand what that is as it relates to business?
sure. SCTelcom was first formed in 1953 by a group of farmers that needed reliable and affordable telephone services. And a co-op is membership owned. So, by virtue of they are members, they share in the cost or the cost of capital to build the business and then benefit from having the reliability, especially in the telephone as it was formed, and now, of course, into broadband. Um, Members are members based on their subscriptions to service. And like I said, we started as a telephone service provider. And while we still offer those services, we are now mostly that broadband service provider internet connections. Our territories are within mostly the south central part of Kansas. We also have some in north central Oklahoma, and we have expanded into some competitive markets. So we've grown from just the farm co-op provider, to more of a regional provider, and serve over 5,000 connections in this region.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I think about actually what you do is provide people a way to do their business.
That's right.
That's pretty cool.
That's right. We keep people connected, and
Yeah,
relevant to the connections that they're making, not only with the local economy, but a global economy as well.
sure. Yeah. If it shut down, their business would shut down. So,
That's
yeah,
right.
no
Yep.
pressure there. Um, yeah. So you started as I was also going to ask you because we talked a little bit before the interview started about your history. So you come from a family-owned business of generations. Tell us a little bit
Correct.
about that, and then how the transition has been to non-family.
Sure. So I grew up in this industry, in the telephone and internet service provider industry. I was a fourth generation owner and employee of a local telephone service provider. Left that business in 2014 and came to SC Telcom in 2015 as the accounting and finance manager, because that's where my background was.
Hmm.
Served in that capacity for about 2.5 years and then was named the CEO and general manager here at SC Telcom. So I'm very passionate about making those connections. Again, moving from a family owned business to a co-op is it's not culture shock per se, but now my board members are not related to me.
Hmm.
I'm not worried about Christmas dinners or Thanksgiving, or making sure everybody has the right accommodation for the family meal versus the
Hmm.
boardroom. So
That's
um,
yeah,
it's a totally different dynamic in that aspect.
yeah.
Um, but we are, like I said, we're member based, and so the board is elected by the members here, and I serve a board of 7,
Okay.
and they have unique and distinct backgrounds, but all really with the same vision as far as being serving the people that are the members of this co-op and the customers, and being fiscally responsible.
Mm. Nice to be on that same page with that vision.
Yes,
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 for
it
sure. And
is. And
which
they've
is
been
yours?
very, very progressive as well.
Oh, good.
Um, within this industry, there's been uh, technology changes and fixed wireless, cellular type things, and
Hmm.
and this particular company has strongly believed in the value of buried fiber optics, and so that's very scalable, very reliable.
Hmm.
Um, can't say it's 100% future proof, and I can definitely say that it is not gopher proof. when it's in the ground. The gophers down
Oh,
here
sure.
like
Uh-huh.
fiber. So
Okay. But it's better than above ground for a number of
that's right.
reasons, right?
For a number of reasons in
Mhm.
Kansas, ice storms, windstorms,
Right.
tornadoes. We've known in some of the cities that we serve, even, delivery trucks. So
Oh, yeah,
yes,
catch that.
underground is better.
Oh, yes, okay. That's interesting. So, since you've been in the industry that I mean, you've been in this industry, let's say since you've been in this role as CEO, what's been your biggest learning curve? And I guess if you don't mind sharing that, is I think people are think they automatically think every CEO or business owner or leader just knows how to magically do everything, but we all have a learning curve. What's been yours?
Um, I think probably for me, because I was a financial or an accounting background, it was the
Uh-huh.
technology and just, adapting to um, all of the change. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we know that what we invest in today is going to be obsolete very quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
just understanding that life cycle of the technology has probably been the biggest for me,
Okay.
for sure.
But definitely something you can learn.
Definitely
You
something we
know.
can learn. And we
Mm-hmm.
have we have great vendors and great partners in this space, with regards to technology and consultants,
Mm-hmm.
that help us with that. Um,
You know,
but
I appreciate you mentioning your partners, your vendors as partners, because I think very successful businesses have very successful partnerships. It's almost like they're on your team or they're an arm of your team. And if
right,
you can leverage those, I think the most successful businesses do that really well. So
yeah.
I think that's
And
good.
I believe, I mean, my philosophy is if you refer to the vendor strictly as a vendor, they're not your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And those vendors that approach you as a partner will be much more beneficial to you in the
Yes.
long run. I
Mhm.
just served on an advisory board, and we truly believe that this is a partnership. Yes, we're buying materials and we're buying, services from this particular company, but we're also making them better by being their partner and by, serving on these advisory boards, these
Mm-hmm.
advisory councils, so that we can develop the product further, not only for our own use, but for their next customers' use.
What's that saying that all rising tides raise all ships? And
That's right.
I love that saying because it's so true. You know, if you help ultimately another customer, and we call it co-opetition at Action Coach. So it's like they're your competition, but we want to cooperate for the benefit of all.
That's right.
Sounds like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's where we're at, and that's the thing about, especially in Kansas, of course, that's where I've grown up. That's where I've been in this industry for all my
Mm-hmm.
life. With, at one time, 35 independent telephone companies, and we all knew our boundary, knew
Uh-huh.
where we stop and where the next one starts. And with the advent of competition, and some of those boundary lines kind of got grade, and
Sure.
you know but we still know that when it's good for us, it's good for them, and it is definitely, I love that term, co-opetition.
Yeah, I do too. It's a very abundant, concept. So,
Yes.
what do most people misunderstand about your industry? So you tell them you're in the telecom industry. You're in the what do they mostly misunderstand?
I think, especially as we've evolved into be broadband service providers, and uh, that yes, we make the connection. Not everything is Wi-Fi,
Hmm.
um,
Right.
and our connections are based on solid buried fiber underground optical cable. So that's one.
Okay.
There is still a lot of regulation and industry specific regulation that we must comply.
Hmm.
Um, that definitely, I think, is often misunderstood, or um, could be used against, uh, the incumbents versus the new
Mm-hmm.
entrants to the market.
Sure.
Um, and it's always a challenge, not only to educate ourselves and our staff, but also our current or our prospective customers.
Yeah, when you hear something on the news about a regulation or something, it's easy to say, oh, that's ridiculous, this or that. Lots of thought goes into the regulation.
Correct.
They don't happen without a lot of smart people thinking
Yeah,
about it an awful lot, and it sometimes isn't necessarily beneficial to everyone. But again, it's
right.
like raising the whole tide for everyone kind of a
Yeah.
mentality.
I mean, I've always considered the regulation. I mean, we may not always agree, and I don't care what your politics are or
Mm-hmm.
what your thoughts are, but with regulation, at least it levels the playing field to start with.
Right. Oh, I like that. That makes sense. Yeah, because we were playing by the same set of rules that way.
Uh, Generally,
Ish.
yes.
Okay. Ah, so, as a CEO, a CEO is an entrepreneur. It really is, because you're always looking for new things, new ways, better ideas. What's the hardest part about that for you? Hardest part about being that person with the new ideas and all of the,
Well, sometimes, and we joke about it here. Sometimes it's oh, there she goes spewing again. Do I have to take action on all those ideas? You
yes.
know, um, no, just hear me out. I just had this thought. That's one, and I love the term. I've had many, many consultants and coaches through the years, but it's been, working on the business while working in the business
Yes.
and
Yes.
keeping clear and intentional lines about that as
Mm-hmm.
well. In this role, sometimes you're supposed to know a little bit about everything, but then you take it further. I know enough to be dangerous,
Right.
or I
Uh-huh.
don't know a darn thing about that. So, you know, then there's that imposter syndrome that picks up and says, You don't know anything, so just zip it. Have no ideas there." So it's balancing all of
Yeah.
those things.
Wide spectrum there. you
Very
know,
wide,
and
very
I
wide.
always once I heard the role of the CEO is to tell, inspire, remind, tell, remind, and tell, inspire, remind. That's what you're doing. I'm inspiring you, and I'm going to tell you how, and then we're going to remind you to do it again and why. And clearly what it is. The board probably knows clearly what it is, but you've got to communicate that to everybody else. So you
That's
said
right.
5,000 connections. That's a lot of people, plus your team,
That's right.
people on your staff. So, as an entrepreneur CEO, how do you start your day?
Um, my day always begins with a walk. Uh,
You.
get the heart rate,
Good.
get the heart rate up, and just clear my mind and have a fresh look on the day.
Great.
Um, then at the office, hopefully open the email and see if there's any fire to put out or pressing issue, and go on to the list. I have lists here and there and everywhere,
Hmm.
and what to prepare for, what meeting or you know,
Hmm.
what project or whatever. So
I love that you said you start your day doing something that's self-care. Because if you're not fit for the job can't be done. So,
that's right. And that's hard.
mhm.
That's taken a while to get to that point as well. Because there's been, again, my background, you just do.
Yep,
You
get
do
up
for
and get
others,
going.
you get up and go.
Uh-huh.
If it needs to be done, I'm the one that's going to do it. And it's just, finally the health report card comes back and says,
It's
maybe
time.
you need to do something different.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have found in most of the interviews that I do and the clients that I coach, the successful people usually do something for themselves first thing in the morning. That's why I love to ask that question, because I'm like, okay, check another one. And it may not be every single day that they do it, but it's usually pretty regular. So, and that's
And
a good thing to inspire people.
yeah, and it just starts the day right.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Even
Yeah.
if it's a few minutes, I don't
Mhm.
care. I mean, if it's the intentional time or not, it's
Right.
this is me.
And those fires will be there when you get done with your walk.
That is correct.
So true. So, what makes you feel inspired?
Um, the best source of inspiration for me is the success of my team.
Mm, nice.
And, when they uh, when they experience success, when they have those aha moments, when they're recognized for their efforts, um, when we truly get it, and it's not about necessarily performance metrics or um, financial type
Mm-hmm.
rewards. Of course, those are all very important
Sure.
and inspiring, but it's truly making a difference with that team member. And then the the connections that we make as a result of that too
Mm-hmm.
for our customer or down the road.
Yeah.
Um, there's nothing like it.
I love that too. And when I think about the team, you have one person maybe from the family, but they are supporting however many. And so you're really impacting all of those.
That's right.
And if they can be happy at work and inspired themselves and feel like part of a team, then they
Yeah.
can go home and continue that. So
hmm
that's awesome. I think it would just be awful to be in a miserable place. I don't know if I could turn that off if I left for the day, you know?
Having had some experience at that, I mean, it's difficult and it's impactful
Hmm.
on your outlook on life, on the way whether or not you feel that it's important to take care of yourself,
Right, sure.
um,
Hmm.
and just internalizing some of that ugly. It, it's it's it's
Yes.
not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
And some places are just kind of poisonous. They're just that way, And,
That's
and
right.
luckily, I mean, if you can get away from it, and then do you have to be intentional about providing the environment you're providing? And it's an everyday, I'm sure you're always thinking of how do we do it better? How do we, continue to support our team? And
Right.
so that's good.
Yeah. One of my favorite mentors has said culture is not a thing. It's an attitude, it's an emotion, it's an effort. It's not just a thing. And that's where we're at
Hmm.
here.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I heard there's a book, it's called Culture Trumps Policy Every Time, I think. Yeah. I mean, the policy is we treat every customer with respect, but if the culture is all we really care about is the bottom line, that's not going to happen.
That's
So
right.
the culture trumps it every single time. So,
That's right.
so do you have a favorite business book that you like to read, or do you follow anyone that, and
Um,
so why do you like that one?
yeah, so it's not a book, but it's an author and it's a
Okay.
motivational type individual, Brene Brown.
Love her.
I know she's the perfectly imperfect and dare to be great and dare to lead and
Yes.
I mean all those things. And
Mm-hmm.
every time I see a quote or anything, an excerpt, I have audiobooks and I'll replay and listen. And
Mm-hmm.
I think again, as we talked about this a little before, but being a woman in a male dominated and oriented industry, we need like-minded women and inspiration and motivation from
For
those types.
sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we can see it's done. And she's so transparent. She'll tell you all the stories about, oh, I didn't think I was going to make it to do that presentation. And I love that.
Yes.
She talks about the imposter syndrome and how to overcome it and how she has. And she's just a good old girl.
Yes, and
Yeah.
authenticity is more impactful,
Mm-hmm.
especially in this role. I mean, if I'm having a bad day or if it's something, out of my control, it's still, I mean, I don't apologize for being authentic.
There you go. Oh, that's good. Love that. So I've just two more questions. So when it's all said and done, what do you want people to say about Carla? Yeah. What would you like?
Woo, she's got it figured out now.
She keeps trying.
She keeps trying. Yeah,
Mhm.
she's not again, I go back to some of the women that are inspirational and just yesterday there was a LinkedIn live that I was participating in and Patty Jo said it's tenacity. It's just continuing to be tenacious and
Mhm.
hopefully, at the end of the day that's what they think. That
Yeah,
tenacity and authenticity, that's what it's all about.
that's great. You can hang your hat on that. Yeah. So how can people find you if they watch this interview and they want to call you or find you or find your company? How's the best way to find you?
Well, we're on Facebook, and that's a great
Okay.
way to interact with us,
Okay.
SCTelcom. There's no middle E, so it's just one E.
Okay.
Um, and we're also LinkedIn. We have a website, sctelcom.net, and any of those avenues are the best way to get a hold
Okay.
of me or any one of the team members at SCTelcom.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Carla, thank you very much for the interview. I really had a good time listening and took a lot of notes on things that you said. And I'll summarize those for this interview. But I really appreciate you taking time because I know you have a lot to do. So thank you very much. I'm Coach Lee with Action Coach Business Coaching, and this is the Spotlight Interview.
Thank you.